Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Kuntres in the morning. 15 minutes to change your life. Kuntres Mayin, finishing off Maamar Ches. Before we start, we'll give some tzedakah. Do the tzedakah is Zagula. It's Hashem to the giving tzedakah. You should hasten the coming of Mashiach. And also, a learning in the Zchus of all the Yidden Eretz Yisrael, and specifically the hostages and the soldiers that are in there, and specifically Yosef Yitzchak ben Simcha. And today we're going to focus on one of the hostages, but all of them should be safe and free, just like we had, a lot of them already came back. The rest of them should come back safely, healthy, and strong. And we're gonna them for Roni ben Barta. With Hashem, Roni ben Barta should be good and healthy, and safe. Okay. In today's class, we're going to finish off this parak Gimel, and then we're going to, with the time we have left, we're going to go through everything we've learned till now, and then we will. So then, starting the next class, we can start a Maamar test, a new fresh start. Okay. So, and remember what we've been talking about is there's two sort of modes. There's a mode that Hashem interacts, which is from, like we said, Erech Apayim, which is coming from Hashem's Ratzah, and Arech Anpin, which is coming from a higher level of Seder Shtalshlus. And over there, it's sort of Ma'aseh Tachtenim. What we do doesn't necessarily matter to Hashem, and therefore, even if you don't do the right thing, you still get and keeps on going, irrelevant what you do. But then there's a level of Hashem Mitzad Chachma, how Hashem interacts with the world, with intellect and Seder Shtalshlus, and how Hashem is involved in the world. And on that level, everything that we do does make a very big difference. So that's what we've been talking about. So now that's what we're contrasting. Before we said, that everything is according to the calculation, and everything is checked and monitored to the extent that even the sikha, the conversation between a husband and wife, which is very private, and that's more of a free conversation. That he says, as he says, Rashab, that it's a very Adam Dash Ba'akov, people step on with their heel, like it's so common. Meaning, and when the husband and wife are together, whatever he's referring to, I'm not exactly sure. I'm just assuming it's talking about, let's say, Lashon Hara, whatever. They talk comfortably, they can talk. And there's no one to there's no one there. So you have like a level of comfortability. And therefore, you can be saying things or doing things that are not necessarily very, very kedushitic. And nevertheless, and so even that's so private, Hashem knows what's going on, and it's not, it's put down, and it's put down in the system. Especially nowadays, you can understand this idea of how Hashem is totally involved. Is how, a simple example of, like, if you think about it in Israel and the whole world going in Gaza, and they get to know, they know so much of where people are, like where the terrorists are. And not just like the ones that they're fighting, but even like their heads and stuff. And they know that they've killed all these heads. Where they get it from? They have intelligence, and everyone knows what's going on. And in Israel, they do a very big job, from what I understand, of gathering intelligence and like monitoring social media of the enemy to know what's going on. So and so you think yourself, you're free, you do whatever you want. In America, there's all this concept of this privacy that you can do whatever you want. But what we're learning here, that by Hashem, he's paying attention to everything that's going on. And he knows. But that's all in the Seder Shtalshlus. But mitzad coming from the level of Hashem, the way he interacts with the world, above nature, above the order of the worlds, Sham ein din v'cheshbon. So over there's no judgment. It's above it. The fish ain't teifes makim and ma'aseh, because with the action of the tachtenim, of the lower people, the lower worlds, doesn't teifes makim, doesn't take up space by him. Doesn't. He's way above that. And it draws down the hashpah, Hashem's influence into the world, even so he gives, but he gives without caring so much about what's going on. So therefore, even someone that goes against Hashem's will can get. And with a lot, like abundantly, not according to judgment. And therefore, and that's the simple answer. People say, why do bad people successful? Well, this person, I don't see the person doing all these things and they get successful. So first of all, the true answer is you don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't know what they're doing. Just because they look one way on the outside, that doesn't mean anything. As I heard once someone said to Pin Yakov, that he said, I daven, I learn, I try hard, and I have a bid and everything. And it's this guy, he doesn't, he's sitting there, doesn't really have anything showing. And he looks, the way I see it, the way he started, he's like, it looks very not so religious. And he's very successful. And I'm sitting there and I'm very unsuccessful. So Pin Yakov said to him, he goes, you don't know what Zchus he has. Meaning you don't know what good he's doing. You don't know anything about his life. That's it's a very important point. But here what we're seeing is, even if you did know, and even if you knew that what they were doing was wrong and bad, and still you see them successful, that's because they're receiving from this higher level. And this is the reason why the ways of the Rishonim are successful. It comes from this level of arich up, slow to inga. We said before that Hashem slow to inga, that he punishes them later, that he holds off the punishment till later, till time to come. They're receiving from this slow to inga level, or this level above seichel, above chachma, arich anpin, which is above the calculation. That they get even when they're not fitting. And therefore automatically therefore they get a lot. The fish because it's infinite. It's coming from a level way above and beyond. It's coming from a level. It's like coming from a level. You go to a donor that has billions of dollars and is giving out. So they're giving. It doesn't because over there they give, the $1,000 they give you is meaningless to them. It's so insignificant. And therefore they get so much hashpah, even though they're doing the wrong thing, because they're getting from a place where the person doesn't care. Hashem doesn't care. As we're going to explain more later. So, so what we're saying is that there's a level of Hashem that's in din v'cheshbon, that's calculated. And just like a parent, there's a parent is within din v'cheshbon with the child, and they see what's going on, and they analyze, and then they tell them, this is good, this is not good, and they're involved. And then there's a level, or there's a type of parent that's not involved. They just give. But that comes with a lack of care, a lack of relationship with the child. Just like we're saying with this level of Hashem, it's a bit above and beyond. And so therefore it's irrelevant what we do. And that's why you can see that even though the person is doing not the best things, still they continue getting. Ultimately, it doesn't last forever. And ultimately, we don't understand Hashem's thoughts and our thoughts. We don't really understand how everything works. So we can't learn from this for someone else. Oh, that's why they're getting successful. Or this why they're not successful. Or we don't know. And it's not our job to judge. We can just take care of ourselves and see what we're doing and how we could do better. Kitzer. To know as hatikla liyamin, the moving of the will to the right, b'hashpah chesed, coming with kindness, v'lismel b'hashpah gevura, and when turning to the left, it goes to gevura. Hu b'cheshbon meduach. It's a precise calculation how this works. Alav lefi kiyum mitzvahs, according to the amount of mitzvahs we do, and base b'oifen ha'iskalus chesed gevura. So it's how our term mitzvahs are going, and how we're going to combine together the chesed and gevura. How much chesed, how much gevura. And again, having gevura is very important. If you have all this rain, it's coming down in the wrong time, it doesn't help. And also we said that the calculation of what a person gets according to the neshama, meaning one person could do a mitzvah and it could be the biggest thing in the world, and the other person does the same mitzvah and it's nothing much. And so to an opposite, someone does an avera, and two people do the same avera, and for one person it's the biggest avera, and the person it's not such a bad thing. Yeah, and but then in the end we said, but when it comes from a higher than Seder Shtalshlus, the ways of the Rishonim is successful. Because they're receiving from above Seder Shtalshlus, they're receiving above and beyond the nature of the world, and therefore they can receive even though they're not deserving. And that is Maamar Ches. So now in the last few minutes, if you have the green version of Kuntres, sure both versions have it, just in the green version. With English, it's in the back, page 398 or 97. And it goes through a small kitzur of every Maamar. So before we continue to Maamar and Tes, I was thinking we'll take a few minutes and we'll go through this kitzur and remind ourselves where we've been going and get a little bit of a general overview. And it's good. One of the things we should try to achieve when we're learning, and this is all types of learning, is being able to summarize the points of what we learned, like we see in the siyum, in this sikkum, in this summary, like summarize what we've learned. So you learn something, you learn a Maamar. There's different levels of summary. One summary is each paragraph, each ois. What is it saying? What's the point? I try to do this with my kids when they do learning. Like, so what did the pasuk say? So what they'll do is they'll start reading the pasuk again, just in English. It's like, I don't need you to reread the pasuk in your own words. What did we learn here? What's the pasuk teaching us? So too in the Maamar, what's this paragraph telling us? And then ultimately you do that through each paragraph. You get to learn the whole thing, and then in the end, you should, hopefully you've learned it enough, and you've learned and you've worked and internalized it. So you can also say in a very short, like, what's the message? Stam, and that's like Lamashal. This is an example of this is the map of Tanya. It's one line, 2 lines each parak. And that's it's very and if it's fast to do that, it takes time. You have to learn a few times, you have to really understand it, but that gets you to really understand it. Anyway, so the Maamar, the summaries of all the Maamarim, and let's see how many sound familiar to you, and hopefully we'll be able to see the theme going through it, like how the process goes. Okay, Maamar Aleph. So in the first Maamar we had 4 prakim. And what are we talking about? We're talking about Hadar Medech HaTorah, turning away from the ways of Torah. It's Zchus. Kama b'china is tainug, and we talked about the different levels of pleasure. We had the pleasure of food, pleasure of singing, pleasure of intellect, and pleasure of Torah. A person that is the choicest of creation, us, that we are the choice of creation, we should be choosing things that are above us. Seichel of Torah. Psichus, im chisusei. And we also talked about the lowness of us if we go after gashustic things. Because we're the choices, we should be striving for higher than us. But if we go down to lower than us, then it's a problem. That was the Maamar Aleph. And that's all in kosher terms. Maamar base. And we had 2 prakim over there. And we said, Chet, Badava, Asur, Ayideh, how does it come that we do forbidden things? It's because Aleph, the take of Nefesh Bahamas, Ayidei Riboy, Taivos, Hetzer, because we do a lot of permissible things, but with the Nefesh Bahamas, meaning we're doing it not for an ulterior, not for a proper motive, but just for its sake. Eating donuts, not because it's a mitzvah on Hanukkah to eat donuts, but because I love donuts. I want to eat as many donuts as I can. So when we do that, that causes us to descend and make it harder for us. And then we could go to the point of doing things that are forbidden. And base. And the second reason why we're able to go down is because we're not worried, because we think to ourselves we're not going to be disconnected from Hashem through what we're doing. And it'll be good for us. We can have the cake and eat it. But the true life, hu elikus, is godliness and coming from the side of holiness. And that's what we should be getting our life force from. Now, in Maamar Gimel, we said the Siddur Kedusha is begilui, by the holy side, godliness, that comes begilui, revealed way. Siddur Achar comes on the negative side, the opposite of Kedusha, hu bechinas galus, that's galus. And when we receive that, we're in galus, and we're giving the life, bringing godliness into galus. And that's why it's called Avodah Zarah. because they're separate from Hashem's unity. Avodah Zarah is not denying Hashem's existence necessarily, but it's saying there's me, I'm a separate entity. And a person that sins is worse than this, because we have the choices. We should be connected. It's like when someone that doesn't know you does something wrong is not as bad as someone that knows you and your friend and does something wrong to you. That's what we're saying. And then we said in Maamar Daled al Yidei Ma'aseh Achet Adam Hu Tachas Apid. When we sin, we separate ourselves totally. Lamata Misitra Acha, and become lower than Sitra Acha. Because we have the potential to be a higher. And that's sort of the challenge. The greater you can become, the worse, the more you can descend. And we affect that bond, that knot that we said that from below to above with Hashem. And we cut it. Every we do, we cut it, we make a dent in it, make it weaker. And only the ruach shtus, the spirit of folly, of foolishness, that fools us into this. And if we realized every time we do something wrong, we're cutting that stream, we would never want to do that. That's scary and that's dangerous. But we don't realize that, and that's how we keep doing it. And then we said in Maamar, hey, hataina, the excuse or the optimism, he translates it, the optimism that it's going to be good for us. It's only foolishness, the Yitzchak, that convinces us that'll be good. Don't worry, I can stay up late and I can watch my movie and it'll be fun. And then you remember, and then you wake up in the morning and it doesn't feel so good. And the explanation of what it says is that you bless yourself in the heart. That's what we talked about. And Malchus Nikra Hey Smear. Malchus is the lower Hey of the name of Hashem, and it's thirsty to its creator. We said for two reasons. One is because it wants to go back up to its source. Because it's just like the rays of the sun want to go back up to the sun. And the second reason we say it's because it's descent. It's going down, not just that the nature of the thing is to go back up to its source, but because it comes down so low, it's very uncomfortable. And then we said in Maamar Vav, we said also the neshama is called thirsty, just like the hay and malchus is thirsty, also on neshama, because it descended, but ultimately the descent that it comes down to this world, even though it's thirsty to go back up, because it's back up to its source, but the advantage that happens through its descent into this world and the struggle that it has, but it overcomes, it's all worth it. Siyum, Perzha, when we ended up explaining what does it mean, Harava, which is the Nefesh Bahamis, the Seder, which is Nefesh Bahamis, Esat Tzemeya connects with the Tzemeya, the thirsty Nefesh Elikis. Lo Yoeved Hashem L'Shlach, and Hashem, whoever listens to the Yetzer Hara, Hashem doesn't want to forgive them. Sid Look Ratzon, you're taking away the Ratzon of Hashem. Hashem's Ratzon in you is removed. When you misbehave, the Ratzon that the person that you misbehave to goes away. And it affects just in a relationship. And then we said Maamar Zayin. We said the klippa is in Sitra Achra, Makabli Mecharayin. The klippa Sitra Achra get from the hind part, like we gave that marshal of the wedding of the feast. Command Nishari Basak Haspoid, like someone throws it behind his shoulder to his enemy. And Torah Mitzvah is L'Yisrael. Torah Mitzvah is V'Yisrael. Torah Mitzvah and the Jewish people. And we come from Hashem's inner desire. Hashem's desire is us, Torah Mitzvahs. It's pretty cool. We are his inner desire. And hachayta, someone who sins, rak lefi shah, it's only momentarily that they can receive. Just like the person going to the kitchen to eat from the banquet, he's going to get caught at some point and say, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." And it has to be that's going to stop after a while. A kid can misbehave to the parent for a while, so the parent will have enough and will have to do something about it. And in this past Maamar that we just learned, Maamar Ches, we said there's two ways of the way Chitzonis gets. One is from the Makif Elyon, from above and beyond, where it doesn't really matter, and therefore it can receive. And Shalamayel Michachma Nikre, and above Chachma it's called Shalamayel Michachma Nikres Hanikres Cheshbon. That's above Chachma, which Chachma is called Cheshbon. And Mitzvah Hashem, starting next week, next class, we'll start Maamar Tes. Have an amazing Shabbos.